Well, good morning. How's everyone doing today? Yeah, doing good? You guys, I am in such a good mood today. Last night, for like the first time in the history of ever, our family, we put up our Christmas decorations before Thanksgiving. Thank you very much. All of you haters can just be quiet, okay? I needed the magic early this year, okay? So our house is like lit up and fabulous, and so I'm in a super good mood. Not only that, but it is Thanksgiving week. Who loves Thanksgiving? I love it. I love almost everything about Thanksgiving, okay? I love planning out the menu, and I love cooking the food. I love watching the parade. Who still watches the Macy's parade? It's the best, right? My kids are so bored with it, and I'm like, what is wrong with you people? You will sit down and watch this parade because we are gonna celebrate. But I love it. I love the parade. I love watching football all day and hanging out with family. I love taking extra time to like really think about what we have and what we're thankful for. I just think it's such a great, fun holiday to celebrate. And you'll notice that I said, I love almost everything about Thanksgiving. I have a really deep, dark confession to make to you today, and there's a really good chance that I could lose some friends. There's a chance that you could leave really mad at me today when I share this confession with you. In fact, I rarely ever speak of it because I'm afraid that I'm gonna really offend people. The thing about Thanksgiving that I really hate, okay, here goes. I hate Black Friday. I hate it. I hate Black Friday. Okay, who in here are like diehard Black Friday shoppers in the room? Okay, who in here can stand in solidarity with me and say that you too hate Black Friday shopping? Whoa, I'm kind of shocked at like the number of people that hate Black Friday shopping. I hate it. You have to understand this about me. If you don't know me in here in the room, I am an introvert at my core, okay? So the idea of, big crowds and pushing and shoving, all of that kind of stuff is that's like my personal hell, okay? So Black Friday, my idea of what hell would be like for me would be one continual day of Black Friday shopping. I can think of 100 things I would rather do than go Black Friday shopping. I do not need to save $50 on a television that bad, okay? To go in the middle of the night and wait in line at Target to save money on a TV. You guys, Target is kind of like my happy place. So Black Friday would ruin that for me. When I go to Target, I want to go to Starbucks and get my almond milk latte and peruse through the aisles, really calm and looking at all this stuff. I don't want to be trampled by the masses. That is not fun to me. Okay, so if you love Black Friday, that's great. You can go and wait in line to get your Tickle Me Elmo or your Hatchimal or your Beats headphones or whatever. But I can't do it. And these shoppers you guys see stuff on the news of people getting trampled over TV sets? It's just insane, absolutely insane. And don't even get me started on the stores that open on Thanksgiving. I can't even go there. Ask my husband. I start to get really angry, need to go to anger management classes because of the anger that comes out of me when stores open on Thanksgiving. So, but here's the thing, if you're one of the Black Friday shoppers, one of these crazy, frugal people that are gonna stay in line and go and wait, that's awesome, more power to you, but you will not see me there. You will not see me, I cannot do it. And I was looking online the other day and I saw this meme about Black Friday, and I thought this was just so appropriate. Black Friday, when people trample others for cheap goods mere hours after being thankful for what they already have. I saw that and I kind of laughed to myself, But here's the thing, we can laugh about it, and we have some people that love to and if you love to Black Friday shop, that's awesome. I'm just giving you a hard time. But when we read this, we have to recognize when we look at our culture and we look at kind of our society and what's happening, there is a little bit of truth to this, because I don't think any of us can deny the fact that we live in a culture that is overly obsessed with material possessions and money and stuff, and accumulating more and having the bigger and better and best, whatever it is. I think our culture is a little bit obsessed with that. And it's no secret also that our culture doesn't exactly promote a healthy relationship with money and possessions and material things. And that's why we're doing a financial series. That's why we feel like it's so important to talk about. And not only that, but Jonathan mentioned this last week, but Jesus actually spoke more about money and possessions than he did about heaven and hell combined. So if Jesus found it to be that important to talk about that much, then I think we should probably take his lead and realize the importance of talking about this. I mean, just think about what people in our culture, and there might even be people that you know, what people are capable of when they become driven by this love for the almighty dollar. We have parents who become workaholics and neglect time with their kids just so that they can have more stuff. We see business owners that are willing to lie and cheat and do whatever it takes to get ahead and to make more of a profit. We all, I think, we can see this happening to other people, and we can also feel it in our own lives, this pull towards always having the biggest and better and newest thing, whatever it is that's out on the market, even if it means going further and further into debt. I think we've all experienced that pull at one time in our life or another. I know in my own life, I see what starts to happen to me in my heart when I start to get an unhealthy focus on money and stuff. I start to get more stressed out. There's times where I'll start to feel less than, or like I'm not as good as a parent because I can't afford to give my kids X, Y, and Z, or I can't afford these super, extreme fancy vacations, or I see maybe what other people that have more money are doing with their family and we can't afford it. And so I get focused on that too much and start feeling I'm not as good of a parent because of it. I start to focus on what I wish I had instead of being thankful for what I already have. Having this unhealthy view and this love for money and possessions really has the power to do some really icky stuff in our hearts. I find myself comparing and judging and whining, and if I'm being honest, a lot of times jealous and just downright greedy in my heart when I have an unhealthy focus on money and possessions. And here's the thing, but you got to understand, I'm not saying that working hard and getting promotions and bringing home a big paycheck or making money or providing for your family, all of that is good. That's good. That there's nothing wrong with that. But here's where the problem lies, okay? The problem is when money becomes an idol to be worshiped rather than a resource that we leverage. That's where the problem lies. See, money becomes an idol in our lives when it is the recipient of our extreme devotion. Okay, when we spend so much of our focus and so much of our time going after money and possessions, or when we look to money as being our source instead of God, or when we become more focused on accumulating than we do on giving and on the relationships in our life, at that moment we know that money has become an idol. Tim Keller says this about idolatry. He says, idolatry happens when we take good things and make them ultimate things. I thought that was so good. Like I said, money is not a bad thing, but when this love for money starts to consume us, we take a good thing and we make it an ultimate thing. And that is when it becomes an idol. And isn't it crazy how easy it is for every single one of us to do this? This little piece of paper, this dollar bill right here, it's crazy how easy it is for this piece of paper to have so much power and so much control over our lives. See, when this becomes an idol in our lives, it has the potential to be a source of stress. It has the potential to damage or ruin relationships. It has the potential to hold us back from actually walking out the life that God wants us to walk out. It ushers us into this place where our hearts are full of jealousy and greed. It has so much power to do that. But at the same time, if we choose to use this correctly, it has the power to become a resource that we leverage for good. It has the ability to be a resource that we leverage to enjoy our life and to express love and to do good for others. The question is, which are we going to choose? Are we going to choose for it to be an idol, or are we going to choose for it to be a resource that we leverage? So if this is the case, if we recognize the fact that money and possessions and the love for money and possessions has the potential to do this, that we have the potential to have an unhealthy relationship with it, then what do we do? How do we avoid that? How do we look at money as being a resource to be leveraged? Well, I think we look to Jesus to see a better way. It's like, that pat answer that when you ask your kids at church, what'd you learn about today? Jesus. Today, so what's the answer? Jesus. But for real, if we look at Jesus' life and the way that he lived, because obviously as Christians, our goal is to become more like Jesus. Here at Eikon, our mission is to help people become more like Jesus. So if we want to truly know the best way to live, we look at the way that he lived his life and we look at his teachings and the things that his life were marked by. We want the same things that mattered to him to matter to us. And when we look at scripture and we see the really simple life that Jesus lived, I think it's pretty obvious that he did not place a high value on money and possessions. Jesus placed a high value on relationships and on people. Jesus modeled for us what it looks like to live a generous life. His life was marked by generosity. And one of the synonyms for generosity is open-handedness. Generosity basically means open-handedness. You're open-handed with everything you have. And we can see that Jesus lived this way, in the way that he opened his arms and his heart wide to every single person. He welcomed people into his life. He shared what he had with everyone. He wasn't this closed off, me first kind of person. He was generous. We see this in the things that he valued and the things that he taught. We know that his value was people because he spent his time and his energy on people and relationships, not on accumulating stuff. That's what was priority for Jesus. Jesus showed us through his life that loving others is the most important thing that we can do. And 1 John 3:16 through 18 says this: we know what real love is because Jesus gave up his life for us. So we ought to give up our lives for our brothers and sisters. If someone has money to live well and sees another in need but shows no compassion, how can God's love be in that person? Dear children, let us not merely say that we love each other, but let us show the truth by our actions. One of the greatest ways that we can actively love people, the way that this scripture is telling us, not just to say that we love people, but to show it in our actions, one of the best ways we can do this is by sharing our life and our resources with others. Because generosity is basically love in action. That's what generosity is. It's love in action. And practically speaking, living generously, that can be fleshed out in so many different ways in our lives. It doesn't have to look like just writing a big check. That's not the only option, the only way for us to be generous. Generosity can be maybe adjusting our monthly budget so that we spend less of our discretionary on ourselves and we save more to give to those in need. That's one way that we can be generous. Another way is maybe invite your neighbors over for dinner, even though you know it's going to cost you more at the grocery store to feed more people, but you know that relationships are more important than that, and so you're willing to make that investment into your neighbors. Maybe for some of us, it's choosing to work less hours throughout the week and bring home a little bit less in our paychecks so that we have more time to give to volunteering in our community. Maybe that's what it could look like for you. Maybe it's inviting someone to live in your home who doesn't have a place to live. That's huge. There's so many ways that we can choose to be generous. See, generosity, it rejects this me first mentality. It rejects this idea that I just have to look out for me and mine, and I gotta take care of myself. Generosity completely rejects that, and it searches for ways to put other people first. It actively looks for ways to put other people first. See, Jesus was so aware of what the love for money and possessions had the power to do in our hearts. He was so aware of that, but he was also aware of what generosity and love has the power to do in our hearts. So he modeled his life in such a beautiful way so we could see, oh, when I live a generous and giving life, that's what it has the power to do in my heart. So the question next is, how do we get there? How do we actually choose to live generously? So we talked about the fact that there's this problem with this unhealthy pull towards this love for money and possessions. And then the answer to that is to live a generous life. But how do we actually do that? Because it's really easy to get up here and talk about generosity. It's easy to even list practical ways that we can be generous. But when it comes to actually living it out in our life on a daily basis, it can get really difficult. It can be really hard. So where do we start? Where do we start? How do we live generously? Well, I think it starts with choosing to be grateful. It starts with choosing to be grateful. Because see, the key to living a generous life is to cultivate a grateful heart. That's the key to being generous, is finding gratefulness in our own heart. See, the more grateful we are for what we have, the more that we choose to look at our life and see abundance instead of lack, the more quick we will be to share that abundance with others. It starts with a shift in our perspective. It starts with us choosing to cultivate a grateful heart. The more grateful we are for what we have, the less pressure we will give into that says that we need bigger, better, best, faster, whatever it is. When we're grateful for where we are and what we have, it's easier to say no to the pressure to give into those things. And one of the great things about cultivating a grateful heart is it does not matter where you land on the financial map. Okay, whether you are bringing home a really, really hefty paycheck and you make a lot of money, or maybe you're in the room and you're living paycheck to paycheck, no matter where you find yourself, every single one of us, we can think of at least one thing to be grateful for. And I would dare to say we can think of a whole lot more than just one thing. So no matter where you find yourself, we can all choose to cultivate a grateful heart. And when we are grateful, and when we cultivate that grateful heart, we create space in our lives to be generous with others. Because here's the thing, gratefulness and generosity, they go hand in hand. They go hand in hand. The more grateful we are, the more generous we will be. And actually, it's really interesting. There have been a bunch of studies that have been done on gratitude and on the effects that gratitude has in our lives. And I want to read a couple of these findings that these researchers have discovered. It says people who are more grateful actually have higher levels of subjective well-being. Grateful people are happier, they are less depressed, less stressed, and they're more satisfied with their lives and their social relationships. Grateful people also have higher levels of control of their environments, their personal growth, their purpose in life, and their self-acceptance. And this, I love this. Grateful people are actually more likely to sacrifice individual gains for communal profit. Grateful people are just more giving. They're more generous. And so many correlations have been found between gratitude and empathy, generosity, and helpfulness. When people focused on gratefulness, they naturally started to give more, to become more focused on others and more willing to help others. It starts with a grateful heart. One of the researchers put it this way: gratitude is a fundamental thread that holds the tapestry of our social fabric together. Feelings of gratitude nurture our individual mental health and fortify our bonds with other people. The personal and interpersonal benefits of gratitude occur at both a physiological and a neurobiological level. So there's actual things that happen in our brain when we focus on being grateful. And that in turn helps us to be more giving and helpful and generous with others. So to sum it up, gratitude is good for our well-being and for the well-being of those around us. And it's so interesting, it makes me think of in 1 Thessalonians 5:8, when Paul says to be thankful in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you who belong to Christ Jesus. And when I read that, I think, well, of course, being grateful and thankful in all circumstances is God's will because it's good for us. It's good for you and it's good for others. Something happens to us when we cultivate a grateful heart, when we choose to continue to be thankful for where we are and what we have. These things happen to us that enable us to be helpful to others. And that's God's will. What God wants for us is he wants to invite us into this abundant life that Jesus talked about. And part of being in that abundant life and living abundantly is having a grateful heart and then giving out to other people. That is where we find true abundance. It's not in the stuff that we accumulate and in getting more, but it's in giving more and being helpful and having this grateful heart for the things that we have. I want to share just a personal story with you. So, on one hand, we can look at this like unhealthy tie to money and possessions as being like, oh, well, it's the people, it's just the people that like, you become workaholics, or they're like, business owners that are like, cutting corners and stuff. It's really, those are the people that like, that's the big stuff that people struggle with when it comes to this love for money. And we might look at ourselves and go, well, I'm not greedy. I don't have this like unhealthy view. Well, I just want to kind of share something that happened to me just a couple of nights ago. So I went to a friend's house with some girlfriends, and I went to go have this girls' night. And this friend of mine, they recently bought a new home. And so we went, up in Round Rock to go and see their new home. And I walked in, and I was like, oh, wow, this home is so amazing. And my first thought was, oh, it's so much bigger than mine. Oh, and I go in the kitchen, and I'm like, oh, this is amazing. Oh, I wish I had a kitchen like this. And I like look in the dining room, and there's this gorgeous farmhouse table that I've like been wanting for a really long time. And then I look, and there's literally this wall art, this quote that I've been wanting for like a year. And I see it, sitting there getting ready to go on the wall, and I find myself like starting to struggle a little bit, where I like start really thinking less of what I have and starting to wish that I had what she had. And so we had a great night, and I go home and I keep thinking about this big thing for my wall, okay? And I know where I can order it, and I know how much it costs, and I know we don't have the money to buy it right now. But in my head, I'm going, I could just put it on the credit card. Like, it's this beautiful thing, it's like this print that says, if you want to bring happiness to the world, go home and love your family. It's like Mother Teresa. God would want me to have this, right? Like hanging on my wall. I mean, surely God wants me to have this hanging on my wall for people to see. So I start like thinking about this, and I'm like, whoa. And then I think about this message, and I was like, that's funny, because I started realizing that I started placing a higher value on things to where it was making me ungrateful for what I have. And so what I decided to do, I'm like, instead of, getting online and putting this thing on my credit card and then having to go and tell Dan why I chose to do that, but God wanted me to, clearly, babe. He wanted me to go into debt to get this thing. Instead, what I chose to do was I chose to yesterday to spend the day with my family. And we decorated for Christmas, and we made cookies, and we baked homemade pizza, and I surrounded myself with the people I loved, and I chose in that moment, instead of making a dumb decision to buy something that I don't need, to go into debt for something that I don't need, I made the choice to say, you know what, instead I'm gonna focus on what's right in front of me. And I'm gonna love my family, and I'm gonna hang out with my kids, and I'm gonna choose to let that be the thing that's most important. So it's kind of like dumb, silly example. It's not like I was, gonna go buy a car or something, or I all of a sudden started like bowing down to this like stack of dollar bills in my bedroom. It wasn't like that extreme, but there was something going on in my heart. And in that moment, if I had made the choice to put that print on my credit card, would it have like ruined us financially? No. But in that moment, I would have made the choice to accumulate more stuff at the cost of something that we've made a value to us, and that's to get out of debt. And that wouldn't have been worth it. And so I think sometimes it looks like that for us. It's those small decisions to say, you know what, I'm not gonna allow this desire for more things to become more important than the stuff that really matters. And there's this quote that I found the other day that I want to end with, and I thought it was so good. And it says this: we should not expect good to come to us, but rather to flow out from us. The challenge of love beckons us to pour out, to transform attitudes of grasping into giving. And isn't that what we're celebrating this week? Isn't that what a Christian life that's trying to be like Jesus should be marked by? Instead of grasping for more, grasping to accumulate more, we should be doing this and giving and sharing what we already have with others and being grateful for where we are and what we have. And so today, as we get ready to close, we want to give you all an opportunity to, in a small way, in a real practical way, choose generosity. To give you something that you can, today go, okay, you know what, I can make this choice to choose generosity in this way. And so to share more with you about what that is, I'm going to go ahead and invite Dan to come on up and to share that with you.
Thanks, Kel. Hey, I am really excited to talk to you guys here just for a couple of moments. And, I found $1. And I'm excited to, no, you don't get that. No, it's my dollar. So here's the thing. I'm really excited. I was sitting there as Kelly was talking, and I was thinking about gratitude, and I was thinking about the things that I'm really grateful for. And in all honesty, I was thinking about this. I was thinking about generosity. I was thinking about gratitude, and I thought, when I think about the most generous people I know, I'm honest, they're people in this church. Like, you people are some of the most generous people I know in my life. And I started thinking through stories and instances and things, and I think, man, some of the people that are the most generous, that I've seen them be the most generous with their lives, with their resources, with what God has blessed them with, are people that sit in these chairs. And I am so grateful for every single one of you. In fact, this week, as I was driving home from somewhere, I got a call, and I put it through on Bluetooth, and I started talking to someone in our church, and they said, I just want to share how grateful I am to be a part of this church. And it's someone who recently was in a car accident, and it looked like their car was totaled. And isn't life this way? He said just recently when he was renewing his insurance, he looked at one of the things he had added on there, and it was a rental car insurance. And he thought, I don't need rental car insurance, and he's like, I'll save a few bucks, and he took that off, and literally just shortly after that got in an accident and had no car. How many life sometimes does that, and just kind of comes back, and he was thinking, man, am I going to have to rush and buy a car that I don't want or may not be a good investment? And someone in this church reached out, and he got connected with, and they said, hey, we have an old car that no one's using, that no one's driving, but you can just have it. You can drive it as long as you want. We just want you to not have to worry about a rental car or buying something so fast. And I just thought, man, that's the church. Isn't that the way it's supposed to be? Isn't that the picture of what the church is supposed to be about? That when one person's in need and someone else has some extra, they go, hey, you know what? Don't rush and buy something. Don't rent something. This is just sitting here. You can borrow this. And sometimes, and this person said this, from the giver's side, it seems so little. It seems like, what can this little thing do? I can only give this much, but it makes a huge impact from the person receiving the gift, does it not? And I thought about, this is just such a good picture of what things are supposed to look like. In this time of year, this is something we always lean into. If you've been coming here to Eikon Church for any amount of time, you'll know that at the end of the year, as we start gearing up for Christmas, yes, I know Thanksgiving hasn't passed. Give us some grace. I'm kind of on the Christmas kick with Kelly since our house is decorated. But we thought about how this time of year, we always do something called the first gift offering. And this is a special offering that we take once a year, right around Christmas time. We're going to be taking this offering on December 10th and 17th. And it's in addition to our normal tithes and offerings. And this is a time that we say we want to give our first and our best gift to God. In this season of giving gifts to friends and family, we want to give a gift back to God. And we've done different things with this first gift offering. A few years ago, we decided we were going to bless a brand new elementary school, pre-K, and we wanted to provide a classroom for them. So we took all of the money we raised for first gift, and we bought books, and we bought different things for the classroom and blocks and all kinds of things, and we just set out this one classroom that they couldn't afford in their budget. And then in the past, we've also said, let's use these resources to help plant a church. You guys know Vintage Church launched this year. Last year, our offering, we said we want to give 100% of this offering and give it to Vintage Church as they launch, as we kind of helped launch a church. And we said that's how we want to leverage that. So we're thinking thinking about this year, and we're thinking about what could we do with this first gift offering to have a tangible effect that, like my friend said when he called me up and was telling me, what is something that all of us, as we all give just a little bit, can have a massive impact down the road? Because that's what we want. We want to be good stewards of the resources, that there's a good return on the investment that we're making, that we're going to give this little bit. Each of us are going to give a little bit, but it's going to have this massive effect down the road. And as we thought about Eikon, we thought about the needs that we have around us. We thought, you know what, we've got a pretty significant need under this roof. On our own church, we have a pretty significant need, and that's within our kids area. E-Kids, they have done a phenomenal job. We've got great leaders. We've got great volunteers every single week that are taking care of your kids, of all of my kids, and that alone is a task, you know, right? Like, we all are sending our kids over there. And you know what we believe? One of our values here is that we want to invest the best in the next generation. Because those kids over there and those kids right there in that nursery, those aren't the church of tomorrow. It's not the church of someday. That's the church. That's the church today. And they're learning principles that can affect their lives. And you know why I know that? Because I grew up in one of those environments. And I had people investing into my life that has made an impact on me to this day. And we want to leverage and invest the best into them. And here's the thing. They've done a great job. And recently this summer, we kind of overhauled the lobby and the entrance, and kids check in. We did a lot, and it's looking great. But here's the thing. There are times that in some of those classrooms, like there's been times that there was 22-year-olds in one of those classrooms. How many of you know that's not a win? 22-year-olds in one classroom, right? It's like, I'll sign up for the coffee shop team, you know? Like, and here's the thing. They've done a great job, but we can do more and we can do better. So we're saying this year, we are going to give one day to change E-Kids. We believe that this offering can change E-Kids forever. And what we'd like to do, you've heard us talk about this with Forest City, is right beyond that wall right there, there's a big gym. And there's square footage right there that is completely unused. And we want to leverage this one offering. And if we can get enough for this offering, if we're able to, we want to complete that kids area. We want to build that out, and we'd like to start construction as early as possible in 2018. Plans are being drawn right now. We've talked to the city. We're talking about permits so that we can start construction. And we're going to build 3 amazing classrooms over there. We're going to build another check-in area right out there so that when the kids come in, it's not just an environment. We're not going, well, how many kids can we stick in this classroom? We move them over there. This becomes all pre-K, and all of our elementary kids move over here to an amazing environment because we want to invest the best in that generation. Don't we want them to have engaging, amazing environments for them to learn about Jesus, for them to have fun, that they're wanting to invite their friends? Man, you have to check this out. And guys, we have plans. I've got some dreams. If enough comes in, there are some things that we want to do over there that would be amazing. And we'd love to start construction in early 2018 so that we can be ready for Easter. Guys, last Easter, we almost had 1,000 people here at Eikon. We need to prepare for this Easter, so this would be a great time. Now, you might wonder, why are we calling it One Day to Change E-Kids? And here's why we're doing that. What we're asking everyone to do for this first gift offering that we'll be taking up on December 10th and 17th. So you have about 3 weeks to prepare for that first one. So prepare, pray about what God would lead you to do. But what we're asking is we're saying, what would happen if every single one of us committed to this and committed to give one day's pay? What is one day of your salary? 1 out of 365 days, would you leverage 1 day's pay and give that to E-Kids? Would you say, God, I'm going to give this as my first gift offering, 1 day's pay. God, I'm going to give this to you to watch what we could change forever for E-Kids. And guys, if we could do that, what we already have in Forest City allocated for this, in this one first gift offering, I believe that it could be one day that would change E-Kids forever. That environment would be changed for generations to come. And like my friend said, it's a little bit that we all do, but it has this massive impact. Think about, if we're able to do this, the impact that space could have on generations of kids. Think about the impact that lasting effect that could have on that. So we're asking you to pray about this. Would you consider doing this? And here's the thing, there's some of you in this room that in past first gift offerings, you give more than that. we'll allow that. Listen, we'll let that slide, okay? Like, you don't have to do that. And if you can't give that, we understand. But what we're asking is just, would everyone participate? And then to give us this target of it not being about equal gifts, it's about equal sacrifice. It's the same sacrifice for every single one of us. Would we all consider giving one day's pay so that we could see eKids change forever? And I'm so excited because, like I said, the most generous people I know are you all. It's this room. So that's why I'm so encouraged when I think about what 2018 could look like. Guys, there are things that we have planned for 2018 that I am just so thrilled, so excited about. And I would love to end 2017 setting us up for success. Wouldn't that be amazing to watch that get built out, to watch that get finished, and watch kids run into that area? There are things, I seriously, there are staff that would kill me, especially Steve, if I said some of the things I want to do. Like, I want to tell you some of the things I want to do over there, but I don't want to overpromise. Guys, this could be amazing. So would you partner with us? Would you partner with God and say, God, I want to give one day to change eKids? So let's do this. As we close and dismiss and leave for the day, allow me to pray for you, and then we'll go out from our day. I pray that you have a great Thanksgiving, have a great time with friends and family, and then we'll dismiss. God, I thank you so much for this room. I thank you for